And this is all about osteoporosis and trying to protect ourselves.
So this condition makes the bones very prone to fractures even after a minor fall. So fractured wrists, fractured spines, it can happen spontaneously, fractured hips, very easy after the menopause when the bones become more brittle and fragile. So our bone mass is maximum in our sort of mid-20s, around the age of 30. After that, we lose more bone than we recreate. So for people who've got osteoporosis, then there is a new medication called abaloparatide, which is a self-administered injection that people can do at home, which is going to really help to strengthen those bones. It helps to lay down more strong bone. So this is going to help about 14,000 women at least. Already we have HRT, which is helpful for keeping bones strong after the menopause. We already have drugs called biphosphonates, but this new one should be available on the NHS in the next 3 months, easy to administer, and will be great for people who don't respond to the other two kinds of medication.
Oh, that's really impressive. And stick with the other things that you've mentioned before, Hilary, like
weight-bearing exercise, calcium, vitamin D in your diet. Absolutely.
Okay. No, that's great news. This is an interesting one as well, the possibility of reversing type 2 diabetes. Sure.
Well, the NHS is going to provide in England, places across England, a diet which is found it's a 900-calorie liquid diet, so soups, shakes and meal replacement bars for 12 weeks, followed by supervised reintroduction of solid food, normal diet, and exercise to make sure that the weight loss is maintained. But in a very reputable medical journal, they invited thousands of people to take part, and of the hundreds that did, a third of them lost up to 2.5 stone. In that 12 weeks. So this works, and I love it because it's natural. You know, it's not using any medication at all, and it reintroduces people to a normal diet gradually under supervision. They lose the weight and they put their type 2 diabetes into remission. Otherwise, it's reversed.
So in 12 weeks, it's possible
in 12
to do
weeks,
that?
It is, absolutely. So it's a bit of a commitment, sort of changing your diet drastically like that, but it works and it's natural.
That's really good. OK, that's excellent news. Now, obviously, school holidays.
It's going to be... Eligibility means your BMI has to be in a certain range and you have to have been diagnosed in the last 6 years. But ask your GP about it and hopefully it'll be available to you.
Very good, Hilary. Now, school holidays, we know. Lots of little accidents happening at home, cuts and bruises with the children, people trying to do Olympics, various gymnastic moves. We all know we can't, don't try it. But there are simple things that we can do to try and treat those little sort of minor injuries at home. Sure,
and I think there'll be lots of grandparents who are looking after their grandchildren, but the house that they're looking after the children in might not be familiar to the children.
That's such a good point,
It's worth looking around. So are there any electrical sockets where they can stick their little fingers?
Oh gosh, don't.
Make sure they're covered up.
I'm fearful of everything. But let's start with burns, an awful thing to have to try to deal with. But what do you recommend?
So if someone's got a burn or a scald, the first thing is to remove any jewellery or clothing over the burn or near the burn because of swelling. Unless the clothing is stuck to the burn, in case leave it. But remove any clothing and then cool water. Just run the scald or a burn under cold running water for about 20 minutes.
Not ice then?
Not ice, no ointment, no butter that'll cook it even more, nothing like that. Cold water and be careful. If it's bigger than the size of a hand, if the skin looks white and charred, that needs A&E supervision. If it's in areas where swelling can cause problems like hands, feet, genitalia, face, neck, joints, then you're going to need an expert to have a look. But generally speaking, cold running water and pain relief if needed. OK, oh goodness.
Choking, fear of mine amongst little ones. Well, amongst anybody, of course. But
choking's life-threatening, of
course. It's just, a terrible thing to have to witness as well, actually. So everyone goes into a state of shock and you sort of forget what to do. So what should we do?
So we've got a little graphic here, but if a child is choking, they can't cough, they can't speak, and they can't breathe. They're clutching their throat, and they clearly can't cough, and they're not breathing, and they may be going blue, then you need to do 5 strong back slaps. So here we've got the victim leaning forward. You're supporting them with one hand, and with the other hand you're giving 5 really firm back slaps to try and dislodge what's causing the blockage. So do that 5 times, each time checking the mouth to see if you've dislodged anything that's causing the obstruction. If that doesn't work, you go on to 5 abdominal thrusts. And here you're putting a clenched fist around the front of the person in front of you, put the hand over the fist and pull upwards and inwards between the belly button and the bottom of the rib cage to try and dislodge what's causing the blockage. And again, check the mouth to see if anything has been dislodged, but don't put your fingers around the back of the throat for fear of pushing it further down. Oh. So those are the things to do, and if nothing, just keep doing that, and if it's not working, call 999 and keep going until professional help arrives.
OK. Oh, let's hope nobody has to experience any of these things, but we have to be in the know beforehand.
Absolutely.
There will be various cuts and bruises, of course, probably with all of us, like
always.
You say.
Cuts and bruises is pressure on the on the bleeding site. Put pressure on, leave the pressure on for 10 minutes, and if necessary, put another bandage over that once the bleeding has stopped, having cleansed the wound with sterile wipes or soap and water.
Yeah.
And elevate a limb if it's a limb.
If it's needed. Of course, you were just mentioning there about maybe grandparents looking after grandchildren in an unfamiliar kind of environment. Say someone falls, whether it's a child or indeed the grandparent. What should you do? What your first point of action?
Again, if it's an unfamiliar environment, just check there are no rugs, mats, or anything on the stairs that they can trip over if they're wearing slippers, you know, and on wooden floors.
Various bits of toys on wheels.
Nothing slippery. So those things. And if someone does fall, then get down onto the floor with them to assess them. Get down onto their level. Find out, first of all, whether a medical condition has caused the fall, like dizziness or chest pain. And just check for any obvious signs of bleeding or bruising or any dislocation or abnormal angulation of the limbs. But if it's a medical condition that's caused it, then leave them where they are and assess them slowly. If it's a trip or a fall, you know what's caused it. But then, if you're going to move them, sit them up really slowly, first of all into a chair, then maybe into a bed if necessary, and just keep an eye on them for 24 hours. If you're worried, of course, check their blood pressure. If you've got a cuff that you've got at home, most people should have these and check their blood pressure regularly over the age of 40.
And this is so easily done.
So easy. You slip it over the arm, you press a button, it inflates by itself and then gives you the reading, the 2 readings that are important. And by keeping an eye on your blood pressure, not only do you stay healthy, but you can check someone who's had a fall to see if they're in shock, to see if their blood pressure is low, in which case you'd elevate their limbs until help arrives. But there's so many things we can learn in first aid that are so simple to do.
Of course, exactly. And keep all of those things in that first aid kit.
Yeah,
take it on holiday
like pain
with
relief,
you.
ibuprofen, paracetamol, antihistamines, dressings, plasters, and bandages. Those simple things important to have in the house.
The basics. Thank you so much, Dr. Hilary. Or I just call you, hopefully.
Just call me.
Please always answer.
24/7. Yeah.
You say that now.